samples behind me, and honestly, we're doing another sample already because this is not how it's going to look in final project. I mean, the way it looks is how it's going to look, but the fabric is not final. The lining is not final. But I'm hoping we kind of found it, but at the same time it's a little yellower. But we're getting the second variety of the flare being made this time, so I'm going to get a difference. I'm going to see the change in flare and know if I like that. And also we'll know if this slight off of being white is good enough. If white is hard, I don't suggest starting with it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't suggest starting the whole potential off of white. But let's get a closer look at them, and then we can get a closer into the details on what's going on. Okay, so now I want to talk about all the little details that my manufacturer did that's different than sample 1. So because the back fabric is more elasticy and a different color, like a drastically different color, like this is stork white, this is a slightly cream white, and not like a cream white, like a slight cream, like a 1 notch up, kind of almost eggshelly. But because of that, he had called me and said, hey, I just want to let you know, like, it's this fabric, it's also really stretchy, so I don't know how it's gonna fit. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, I was like, I honestly was just something to get the sizing, because this is more about the size range than the fit right now. And he's like, okay, understood. So we decided to do the collar in the lined fabric, or the second layer instead of the first layer, or what's used on the back only. And we decided to do the flare instead of out of the white, out of the textured line second fabric, the shell. And I liked that decision. We also got the waistband done in the shell. I liked the flare in the shell. I think for sample 2, he is doing it the same way, but I think if we have the fabric right, I'm gonna tell him to make the collar and the waistband out of the lining, so we can see how that looks, and I'm just going to get that one in my size, and then if I like it, we'll go to mass production, and if I don't like the fabric, we'll get a correct lining fabric, and then I'll have him go back to the original sample, because all of my patterns are drafted or made with the collar and the waistband being made out of the lining versus the shell fabric. And for this sample, we have mostly everything being made out of the shell. And the flare switch isn't that difficult because my pattern grader made both flares for whichever fabric, and it's just the waistband and the collar. So no matter what, depending on what we decide to do, I'm gonna have to go back to my pattern grader, get these small little details changed over. If I decide to keep the collar and the waistband out of the shell, then he'll have to change that. If I decide to keep the flares, which the large flare is probably going to stay in the shell versus the lining, and we're just gonna have to switch that, which that's just one small detail, so I don't know if we'll have to go to the pattern grader for that. I have to look at the way he lined everything up on the paper, so that way I can just see how it's all gonna lay out, and for waste and like fabric waste, so that way we don't waste as much fabric as possible. Maybe more beneficial to go back to him, but that is the next step after seeing sample 2. But other details that my manufacturer did that was different than my sample is that our snaps are no longer outside, they're inside. I mean, when you have the pants off, you see the snap, but that's not outside, so on the flare. That was something I didn't like about the sample, is that it decided gold or silver for you because the snap color was gold, and I'm all for mixing jewelry, but there's a lot of people that don't, and I didn't want to make it kind of, decided for people, and also I didn't like the look of the metal on the outside, so the fact that he got rid of it without really even asking, just did that finished look, was really nice. And then he did a proper hem versus the hem we did on the original flare, because he cut it a little differently that allowed him to do a more finessed flare hem versus the sample. The sample was pre-cut, pre-made, and he had to hem it as it was. We couldn't make it any smaller, any bigger. So now we have those adjustments. And then the next thing he did was one thing I didn't think about with lined fabric, because the last time we had the lined fabric, it was the lining versus the shell. But as the shell, everything kind of has to line up. And yes, they're horizontal lines, but they're these thin horizontal zebra kind of directioned lines. So like, it's not that big of a deal for width and like the way it makes a woman look, or a human look if someone else besides a woman wants to wear this. But what he did was make sure that they are as lined up as possible on the seam lines. And then for the flares, he lined the seam lines up with the button snaps, so that way you know which way to snap it. And it goes all with the inseam, which I think is super smart and I would have never really thought of until after the fact. So I am so appreciative of my manufacturer and of these little details he did, and of all the little things that he's been so helpful with. Like, he's been very understanding that this is all self-funded, that I am doing this basically all by myself, and he's willing to get through those hurdles with me. So I'm really grateful to him. But that is the details. So, yeah. Next part. This is the front of the garment. And this is the back of the garment. And then this is the pants without the flares attached. Okay, y'all, so these are all of the outfits together. Obviously, this is one size. This is the next size up. This is the middle size, I guess you would call it. These two are the middle sizes. And then this is the largest size we're going to start carrying. I'm hoping these size ranges work, and then if they do work, I can either go down or up easily, because I now have all of these other sizes graded, so that way I know these work, I know that they'll fit the clientele I'm looking to fit, and therefore for my next clientele goal, I have other resources to go to because I already have patterns in those sizes. So I am really excited to see if it works. I'm really excited to see the second sample, because if we looked at the back in detail, you would notice it's like a very stretchy fabric, and it's a stark white versus this like slightly cream white, because cream is too cream. So we're getting the second sample done in more of a cream than a white, cotton back that'll stretch a little better, so it won't be as tight on the knees. And I can't wait to see those samples. They're already ready for me to go see. I just need to be ready with the funds for them. And honestly, I'm excited to see how that fits differently. And then if that's good to go, then I can start ordering mass. If it's not, we find the same fabric, if the fabric's good, in a different color, like a more white color. Or if the color's good, we find that color in a different kind of fabric. But I'm thinking this fabric will be good because it is a cotton, but it has that stretch to it. It's got that four-way stretch to it. And it's kind of very similar to what we used for the first sample, which is what I wanted to use. So I'm excited. We're also going to get a second flare made for this, and I'm really excited to see the second flare with the white outfit, because I've never seen that. I've only imagined it. We made a second outfit, and we were like, we want this flare with the white flare along with the other flare. And we were like, he was a little confused, and we were like, no, 2 flares. And then he got the idea, and I'm just excited to see it because it's going to be different than this sample. And, the sizing's going to be the same. I think the sizing works. The largest size fits Riley, and Riley's a 5'1.5", almost 5'2" woman, and she's curvy. So I am really grateful that it fits her. I'm hoping that the in-between sizes work for, our 11 to... I don't know how tall some people can be in my size. I know that there are some people taller. in my size, but I'm hoping that we can wage that gap between 4'11 and 3'10 with these two sizes. And if that works, then we are on to something beautiful and amazing, and I'm just so excited. I am absolutely so excited. It looks so pretty, and he lined the lines up like almost perfectly. I know it was like a really hard ask, but he is so detailed that it's coming out beautifully. So I'm excited to see the second samples. I'm excited to share this all with you, and I'm excited to hopefully get your approval in a sense that you guys want to buy it or that you like it enough to keep supporting me and helping, fill that fashion gap that is so necessary nowadays. But I hope you enjoyed getting a preview of my first samples. I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Stay beautiful. Bye!